Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Dual Screens podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Steven Fontana, and I am super excited about this because this might be probably the best game we've had on the show, and that's saying a lot. With me, as always, is Andy Asimakis. How are you, Andy?
We should always watch the trailer of the guest game right before a show. I think it sets the tone. Like we have an idea, like, okay, we're covering this game today. We know it, we've seen it. We got a full doc about it, but watching a trailer, like leading into the conversation, I got goosebumps. I'm ready to go with this one tonight. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, man. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us this week are John Wang and Drew Gupta, the developers of Brave Eduardo, a hand-drawn 2D open-world RPG where you play as a teddy bear trying to find his place in a deformed Victorian world. Gentlemen, I cannot welcome you enough to the show. Welcome.
Love it.
Yeah, thank you. It was nice. I love that readout and Drew's tagline for the game.
Hell yeah,
that was all him.
No. Listen, when things are perfectly scribed, as this was, we're not going to mess around with the formula.
I did add the words hand drawn because I got to pay props to John's artistic skills because this is a beautifully hand-drawn game.
Yeah, absolutely incredible stuff, but we can't wait to talk more about it. But first, let's tell people what the hell they're listening to. Folks, this is the Dual Screens podcast, the internet's #1. I promise you, we are the #1 indie developer interview podcast on the entire internet, probably. The show posts each and every Friday.
Verifiable fact.
Verifiable that it is probable. We post each and every Friday for your listening pleasure on your podcast service of choice, including our home Podbean. Now, of course, we're everywhere else. We're on Apple. We're on Stitcher. We're on Google Play. We're on Spotify. Everywhere you could find it. But you could also find the video version, and you could see our beautiful faces, and Andy's somewhat face. I mean, it's a face.
It's serviceable. States. It's passable.
Yeah, it does what it needs to do. You can watch that on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/DualScreensTV. And if you want to support us with your hard-earned cash dollar bills, y'all, we have a new revamped Patreon about to launch. We have some changes coming. And we're going to be putting a just metric shit ton of content on there. So, but you could join our Discord for as little as $1 on that Patreon, and that's patreon.com/NDS podcast. And we want to thank our Patreon producers, Colton the Apprentice Nestler and FNH Paul. We seriously, and I'm not even exaggerating, we could do zero of this without all of your support. So thank you so much for doing that. Now, all of the rigmarole is out of the way. It's done. It's gone. Now it's time to get into the nitty-gritty, the most adorable, horrifying nitty-gritty of them all. That's right, adorable and horrifying. It's time to talk Brave Eduardo. Andy, let's get us our ceremonial lead-off question of the show.
Can I have your hat, John?
I mean, I already sent something over. I might as well send something else again.
You have my address. You have my home address, so
maybe
if a random hat pops up at some point in the next couple of weeks,
you'll know. You'll know why.
Put in.
I wouldn't be upset.
Thank you. This is the first time getting
to work daily.
First time getting so much praise on a hat, but I appreciate it.
It's a good hat.
It's a very high praiseworthy hat. Look at that shit.
It's a solid hat. I mean, it frames you nicely.
It does.
It blocks out the rest of your bedroom. It's perfect. It does a really good job.
I feel like I've seen that hat.
Drew and I are both rocking the team no hat this episode. So. Yeah. I mean, both of the Andreases, the Andrews, the Drews know what's up. We don't do hats clearly, so yeah.
And us Wangs and penises over here on this side of the hats, we got this going down. Gentlemen, I want to start us off, like, the description of the game really doesn't do it justice. Folks, pause the show right now, look up Brave Eduardo, look up anything you can find on it. You go to the website, look at what this game is, because honestly, like, words aren't going to do it justice. But if we were going to try to have words do it justice, gentlemen, what is Brave Eduardo? I always call it Brave. Hi guys, it's Brave Eduardo. On God, it's me, it's Eduardo. All right, yeah, give us the pitch here.
Actually, the funny story is that's how we came up with the card game named Vlado. We're just like Brave Eduardo, Eduardo,
Eduardo.
Buado,
We love
buado.
But that's for later. That's all Drew's idea. It was he forced me to draw 170 cards, but that's beside the point. The video game about teddy bear is probably the main thing. And I would say if I aside from the tagline that you have already gave us, which you read beautifully,
I'm a
it
good
was
reader.
I'd almost say Brave Eduardo was made at the height of our desperation, depression.
Oh no.
So
Oh my, yeah, it's gonna get dark, dude.
yeah, I hopefully you guys kind of saw already. So it is a game about Brave Eduardo. You're supposed to explore a fully open world RPG. I know it's side scrolling, but I don't think people give that kind of open world enough attention. We spent so much time trying to make the world beautiful. Whatever place you go to, we wanted to. One of the goals we actually do is we made a system, the fishing system specifically so people can just to sit there and watch the background and watch a day-night cycle turn. So we spent a lot of time on just the open world itself, and you play as a teddy bear. And during PAX East and multiple other conventions Drew and I went to, we realized is we have a lovely, cute teddy bear that goes through the world, but the things he goes through and the journey he experiences is definitely I would say almost exact opposite of what a teddy bear should normally go through. The reactions we got during conventions and how they're like, holy moly, I did not expect this is the way the story turns were surprising. I'm gonna let Drew add on to it a little bit, but that's my general impression of it.
Yeah, I think like when I think of Brave Eduardo, I think the number one thing I think of is like story element. That's one. And then like just like a really like big world. We've worked really hard, like to just not even like I would say like, write dialogue specifically, but like just like build up the lore and like build up like what we think the world should be, and what the arena of the world is, like what is everything is about. There's a whole like lore that you might or might not figure out as you go through the game. That's not even part of this world, but we've been through like so many iterations, I guess, of like what we think the world should be. And I think what we're trying to do now, and hopefully that somewhat is shown in the trailer, but hopefully will be even better in the game. We like making things better than they are shown. Is like just this story that is just not like a typical story, but has those like tropes that everybody likes. Like if you've watched anime like One Piece or something like that, it has.
Drew's a big anime fan.
Yeah, I watch anime like all the time. So if you like
Love it.
anime, it's one of those things where we're trying to get that essence of like what's good, I guess, what makes a good story, but putting it into like a video game where you're not just watching it, you're playing it. So there's obviously a lot of differences. So yeah,
Wait.
and I guess like one thing that John didn't mention, but I guess is like laundry list of things that are included. Like obviously there's a card game in the game, kind of
Well,
like
it is an
Gwen.
RPG, so
Yeah,
Mhm.
kind
Gotta
of
be
like
some sort of
Gwen and
card.
Luther.
Standard, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wait.
yeah. And then, but it's better than Gwen, I think. Way better.
Whoa.
Oh shit, that's
Oh,
the
my
quote.
Gwen
Yeah.
Gwen
That's
is
the quote.
very, very bare bone. Like Gwen is
Right.
not
Yeah.
that challenging. It's just, it is what it is. Yeah,
If
it's
it's
not
better than a triple triad, then that's when you have my
Ooh, triple
attention.
triad, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
When
Definitely be
all, end
careful.
all.
GOG did come see us, so
Oh
be
yeah.
nice.
when I
Wait.
first saw this game, there's such a juxtaposition of the main character and the world that Eduardo is inhibiting, because it is a Victorian kind of almost Tim Burton-esque kind of situation going on. It made me feel like that Eduardo failed at protecting his boy or girl or his child from this world, or like that's the other side of what teddy bears deal with. You know what I mean? Like that's like the nightmare world. That's what's under the bed when you go to sleep. This is what Eduardo is protecting you from. This like major epic. Like that's for some reason that's where my brain went with this. I was like, oh my god, this is what our teddy bears do. This is the mission that they go on when we go to sleep. Like this is totally what it's doing. It's got a whole society of other teddy bears. It's got a really ominous looking uh uh tall, stern, militant teddy bear somewhere giving orders, and like it's just beautiful. It really it puts you, and of course I'm a big sucker for action RPGs, so because it has like that quick action and jumping around and slapping and all that some fun stuff. Can you go a little bit into the actual RPG elements of the game, not necessarily we know it's massive open world. You're gonna have that epic story that all RPGs or JRPGs specifically are known for. But what are we talking about as far as character development, combat, all that fun stuff?
Oh, I can I'm going to speak only a little bit, but I will pass most of it to Drew because he has literally spent most of the time on the combat. So I don't we never mentioned it, but we have been working on game for all. This is our fourth or fifth game, and I would almost say the past failures, all of the stuff that has not worked out, we've failed on so many levels, but combat and the hit registration, I think that's the biggest part. We've always done combat and hit registration feeling very, very well. I would almost say that's probably the number one reason why our last mobile game did so well all over the world, is because when you swing at something, you actually feel like you hit something. And there's
Yeah.
a lot of tech that goes into it. I can go into the RPG equipment level in a bit later, but I do want Drew to talk about how all the small details of like the animation stop and the small stuff we did just to make the hit feel great.
Yeah, so like in general, the combat works off like a combo system. So you have like three different types of well, technically six different types of attacks. Yeah, six different types of attacks, and each attack kind of like bumps up your combo. And then if you reach your max combo, you deal more damage, and your attack speed is a little bit higher. And then I think one big thing we wanted, or at least I wanted, was air combat. We really, really like air combat.
Juggling.
So juggling is like a
Devil May
big part of
Cry,
the game.
baby.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Devil May Cry or Kingdom Hearts, those types of games. So in order to put juggling in a 2D like world, it's a little bit harder. So we have this, I guess, like shield system where each enemy has like a shield, and then whenever you break an enemy's shield, that's when they actually start taking damage. But when their shield is broken, they actually are stunned, like they're completely stunned. They can't do anything. So the idea is that you want to do your combat and combos and get the enemy like shield broken, get them stunned, and then do air combat. And different enemies are like heavier or lighter. And so depending on how heavy the enemies are, that's how like long you can juggle them, and obviously how skilled you are as well. So that's like the general gist of combat. And then like John will explain the equipments and stuff. But I guess like what John was saying about like hit registration and stuff, we spent a lot of time just like making sure that making the combat feel very fluid and very tight. And I tried to ask everybody, we met you guys in PAX East. I tried to ask pretty much everybody that came in PAX East, like how did the combat feel? And I was glad to know that most people, I think almost everybody was like, oh, the combat's really good. The controls are like really tight. And I think that was the number one thing I was like working on. That's like the number one thing I wanted. I didn't care everything else. Like, it was like,
Yeah,
secondary. The how good the controls feel is the most important thing. So I think a lot of the things that we did was like, for example, whenever you attack, whenever you hit, there's a slight pause, but the pause isn't too big. There's no knockback. If you play games like Hollow Knight, whenever you attack, you actually get knocked back a little bit. We don't have any knockback. That's on purpose. We don't have knockback on enemies either. That's also on purpose, because we tried to create this kind of like hack and slash feeling, but with still some resemblance of like skill and feeling of like, yeah, I'm actually doing something like really, really cool, I guess.
Let me interject a little bit. Just so you guys know, back when we first started Brave Eduardo, there were no combat. It was like you push things around, you kind of collect things. We were like trying to go the super indie route to try to be super innovative. We sent the demo of something we put together for within like a 2 months period or something. We drew everything and put it together. We sent it to PAX Rising, which is like this indie kind of like area
yeah.
for PAX.
Yep.
And we got rejected. Harshly did we get rejected. And then
Harshly.
after that, yeah, after that, Drew and I were like, you know what? We're not gonna go that super artsy fartsy route. We're just going to make the best combat that we've always been doing. We're gonna put it in the game. We're gonna make Brave Eduardo feel super good whacking people.
So wait,
And
the thing that you're really good at that made you money and success, you're like, let's not put this in our next do or die game.
yeah, well, see, I think a lot of things is like, in retrospect, because we knew we did combat well, but it didn't work out. So we're like, oh, well, I guess good combat doesn't really do much. But then once we got rejected by PAX Rising, we're like, you know what? I mean, we're so familiar with it, might as well put it in. And Drew just started going ham on making things feel really, really good. And like Drew said, I think from the convention, people kind of agree with us that, yeah, all the hard effort that we put into it was probably worth it. Fingers crossed, because I do want to say, shields and that break, when you break a enemy shield, it breaks all the enemy's shield. So this is kind of like, if you think about the loop, it's you break their shield, everybody gets stunned, you try to juggle them as much, you do as much damage as you can during that period of time. If you're good at juggling, you can extend that time for a little bit. Once they drop down, you gotta redo it over again, but the shield's a lot weaker. So it gets faster and faster the more you play it. But that's only one type of enemy. Those are the spids, which are furball enemies. The bears, that's a completely different game. And maybe I shouldn't have talked about it, but
Maybe
it's
I
a
was going to say.
oh my bad.
Oh.
Oh no.
Well, I do
The-
want to ask one thing about the combat is he's wielding a scythe. Is that like the only weapon he's using in the game, or are there other things you'll be collecting, or is that like his main weapon?
oh,
That is it upgradable? Like talk about that mechanic a little bit and that design choice for Eduardo. Because seeing a teddy bear with this fucking Grim Reaper scythe, that's your juxtaposition right there, Steven. Not like,
Oh, it works.
That's it. Yeah.
I mean, I have to give it to Drew, but I honestly, I hated it at first. I was like, I wanted the bear to have a rapier, like a rapier stab. I love
Yeah.
what's called, yeah, what's a little Stewart, the mouse, with
Right,
like
right, yeah. Yeah.
That felt cool and elegant to me. But Drew was like, no, scythe. I was like, all right, I guess I'll do scythe. And then and if you guys probably saw in the trailer, it's frame by frame animation.
Mhm.
That means swing a gigantic scythe. I had to go through a lot of things to make that possible. I was like, do I actually have to draw the scythe in the thing? But since things go by so fast, I had to go around. All thanks to Drew. That was at least a good like 2 weeks of extra work just to make the scythe possible. But yeah, that's generally the idea why Eduardo used scythe. And we didn't go into it too much in the story, but this was also a Drew idea. All the bears are born into the world with a role, a job. So Brave Eduardo's job is called a bear, a reap a bear. But there are Knighta bears,
Oh.
there are Arcana bears, Espera bears, Garda bears, and there are tons of different type of bears. Every bear that come in, they will be given a gift by the goddess. So Eduardo's gift would be the scythe, and it's called Awake a Scythe. I will stop talking about it there because that already gives away
It's gonna
quite a
give
lot
the
of
whole
things.
fucking game away on the show. And the
But-
last boss looks like this. Here's a screenshot of it. And
Oh,
here's
no,
the
I'm
whole
gonna let
ending.
you guys experience that. But so mainly Eduardo will be completely only using the scythe. So how the equipment work is you can equip up to 3 scythe parts and a scythe. So there will be 4 slots. The 3 scythe parts, or we call it edges, the 3 scythe edges changes up how your gameplay plays. So for example, one of the best one is the bone relic edge. So when you equip it, when Eduardo rolls, he leaves a spinning bone that spins around in the area for a little bit. And that little bit damage adds up. Some of the crazier one is, Drew was talking about how there's multiple attacks. So different direction attack, you use a different holding down different direction button and swinging, you use a different attack. And to increase the combos, you have to switch it up. You can't just keep using front slash, they do front slash, up slash, neutral slash. That's a full combo. And you want to maintain that by continue looping the different kind of attacks. And these scythe edges changes up. So for example, one of them makes it so when you do a up attack, you create a wind of bones that shoots upwards while you're swinging it as well. So it adds up to your damage, and some of them can get really crazy. We have the one I was testing a month ago is called the Spider Queen, where this happened way later when you go into the more Victorian steampunk factory area, where it will literally just passively spawn little spider robots that jumps around you. So the combo gets kind of crazy. I would say in the bone dungeon, which will be in the demo, so I don't feel too bad talking about it, is you once you collect enough material to get the bone scythe, so it's different from edge, it's a full scythe. There's I think his combo is up attack, up attack, up attack, up attack, down. I think it's up attack, up. Once you do a specific amount combo, he summons a tornado of bones and just does massive amount of damage to everybody.
Nice.
So yeah, that's the general equipment. And then so each equipment you can build, multiply, put it together. So one of the edges is a support one where every time you break a shield, like we said, your next damage is going to be much slower, but it's like 3 times the attack. You put that together with the bone tornado, suddenly your bone tornado, your gameplay is about breaking a shield, summoning that bone tornado. So it's like it changes the edges, and the scythe really puts together different builds. And some people like that slower type. There's also ones all about dashing. Whenever you roll and dash, something happens. So you can really put together a build that you really enjoy. So
Do
that's
you find these in the open world? Like, are they scattered about the open world in specific spots? Is it random drops? Like, how are you handling the equipment?
So this is one of the things Drew and I put together is, and you know, a lot of RPGs, maybe you guys can tell me about what you guys like is your favorite RPG, but like, for example, when I play Skyrim, once you get to a certain part of the game, you know, you have like the ebony sword or like the dragon sword, you're like high level. You open a chest, there's like less and less incentive to open a chest because you already got the
Right.
best item. So how we do the drops are every equipment you get, you're gonna get it at level 1. So, and whenever you defeat things, collect the materials, curry, and all that stuff, you get a little bit of experience. So it takes a long time to level your equipment once. But when you go to these chests and you break open a chest, let's say you get a copy of the same one, you immediately level once. So it's so hard to level your equipment. But if you get multiple of them, your equipment level increases. And at a certain level, it starts increasing your damage. At the highest level, Drew can correct me on this, you even start adding a status effect. So all the items eventually will give you status. So the bone one that I was talking about, eventually it'll give you the ice status. And ice status really hampers the health regeneration of all the enemies. And it really changes all the gameplay because towards the end of the end game, you'll want to find even the lowest, the smallest chests you can find. You'll still want to break them open to level up these bone equipments that takes a while to level.
Is there a finite amount of treasure chests to open, or do they spawn? Like, how do you, because I can't imagine, you know, I mean, if Andy finds 3 chests and I find the same 3 chests, are we getting the same 3 items? Like, how does that,
No.
how are you doing that?
No, so the one big thing is we want the chest to be super fun and super interesting. We want you to constantly go and find a chest and get completely different things. So the loot, we actually, the general, I don't know how detailed we want to go into it, but we have a general common level chest, a higher level chest, and the most epic chest. But you want to pick up even the common ones at later on because it's first of all random loot drop, tons of materials, and then cooking items and all that stuff. But also certain side parts only drop from the common chest. And these chests randomly spawn based on the OES system. So I can let Drew talk about that a little bit, but we didn't want enemies to just randomly pop up in the world. So what we did was we made camps, let's say ambushes or hostage situation where the guard bear is taken hostage.
Like a true open world where things are happening, you just happen to upon them.
Yes.
And so
yes.
that's very Borderlands. That like I get like a Borderlands feel for that because every once in a while you just come across like a little group of people. There's chests there. You could go away. You could come back later, and there's another little group of people. The chest
Almost
is
like
there.
Breath of the Wild, or like even like Metal Gear Solid 5, like an open world, like contain little sections of things to explore and do, and like get some rewards and just move on.
Yeah.
From that point.
Exactly. Yeah. We might have gone too crazy, but not only do we have the small dungeons I can go into, those are just set handmade ones, but we also have rogue dungeons, rogue like procedural dungeons that Drew programmed. Those are just completely randomized and I would say done pretty well. It's going to be in the demo too. You can go through one of the procedural dungeons. There will be 5 in total, but it's infinite enemies and infinite chest spawns from just that alone. And on top of that, throughout the world, the open world you're exploring, there will be certain parts where these OES systems, these we call it overworld encounter system, will spawn. Like I said, maybe this time you spawn, it's just an empty cage, nothing's there. The next time you go back there, it's two spids sitting by a camp. So it changes up depending on what time you go to, and it respawns, I think, daily. Am I right, Drew?
Daily, yeah, in-game
Yeah.
time daily.
Yeah. So we're trying to make it so exploration is I know that's such a
Incentivized.
yeah, it's a generic tagline, but I think we try to do our best to make that actually possible. We want you to go through the world and find things. We don't want you go to a place, just some random enemy drop out. We want you to go by them, seeing some enemies sit by camp, not attacking you at all. And you can decide whether or not you want to just jump past it or swing by. So in some ways, oh, and sometimes there are ambushes, but that's more rare. But generally, people have the initiation, the initiative to decide how they want to deal with the encounter. Because we do want people to go through the world, explore if you like, for example, Drew said this earlier today, but during PAX East, we had lots of female attendants and lots of female people like that really, really enjoyed the game. If you just want to explore the world and gather like materials and stuff, you don't have to fight. You can just run by it, jump past it. They won't kind of like ambush you and all that stuff. Just go by and just pick up the chili and make your super spicy weather resistant curry, and that would be great. Yeah.
I was gonna ask you about you mentioned cooking, and we saw a little bit in the trailer before, but is that for stat boosts and stuff like that? How does that factor into the overall gameplay?
Yeah, I can go over that. So
Please do, John. Keep your mouth closed for like, I don't know, a minute.
I'm
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. You honestly, Drew, before you get into it, like,
yeah.
John, you've probably done the best job of any podcast guest describing how the game plays. Like, I have this beautiful symphony in front of my eyeballs where I'm just like, oh my god, I want this video game now. Please.
I
Okay.
think he memorized this PAX East pitch deck. It's like laid out.
Oh, no.
And he's going through the lines like.
he got me.
All right,
But
Drew,
sorry,
hit us up.
curry.
Hit us up.
Yeah, so for cooking, that system is somewhat similar to Breath of the Wild, but a little bit different. So this game was inspired heavily. We started this game right after Breath of the Wild and Hollow Knight was released, a little bit after, at least Hollow Knight on Switch. And so we were like really, really like kind of like, especially Breath of the Wild. I think I especially was really, really like that game. And one thing that I didn't like about the game was the cooking. Actually, the cooking seemed very like kind of unimportant. It was like, oh, you do it if you want. It's great to have some items, but you don't really need it. You can just kind of eat like the existing like apples or whatever, and then you'll be like fine. Like if you just want it for health. So what we tried to do with our cooking system is make it actually important. So in the tutorial of Breath of the Wild, if you guys remember, you go through this like one area where like you're supposed to get like a coat and you're supposed to go through like this winter area and get to the end. Now, I didn't know that you were supposed to get this coat. So I just went through and ran through the winter area, like losing health. And I would just be eating like these chilies so that I could like gain back my health every time I was losing it. And I was able to get from the area just like barely with like half a heart left to the very end. And I thought that was like really, really fun. That was way more fun than getting the coat and like going to the area and then coming back really, really easily. So one thing that we were like, I was like, okay, you know what would be cool is if our like food and cooking system is kind of like baked into the gameplay. Like it's important for the game. Like you want to cook, you want to find cooking.
The food pun.
Nice.
Was that what it was there?
Baked in.
Oh yeah, I didn't even realize. I guess I'm slowly.
I got you, Andy.
But yeah, so the thing was, okay, well, how do we do that? Like, well, how do we make it so that's not annoying, but it's something that you look forward to? And I think one thing that, because we didn't like, one thing we were thinking was, oh, we could do hunger, but both me and John, we hate hunger. Like hunger bars are going down.
Yeah, thank you.
And like you have to eat in order you lose your health. Like it's just dumb. It doesn't add to the gameplay. Like adding anything negative for the player is just like not that great. So one thing that we decided to add was we have like different zones that have like different types of weather. So we'll have like, cold zones, hot zones. Originally this was dynamic, but we decided to make it so that there is like zones, because dynamic made things a little too messy. And so whenever you go through these zones, you actually want to have like food prepared that will give you immunity, like cold immunity, or give you heat immunity whenever you're going through them. Otherwise, you'll take like, effects. Like for example, in the heat, you will turn like super slow and you'll walk really like slowly. You won't be able to sprint. You'll take more stamina. Stamina is also like a part of our game. But if you eat a food that gives you, heat immunity, like right before you go to travel, you'll have like, like a bunch of food like ready, and like, oh, the moment that your immunity goes out, you eat another thing and then you just keep going. It was very much inspired by that initial run of like that tutorial run of Breath of the Wild, where it feels like you have to be prepared, or you feel like you want to like find cooking stations.
You're like a hobbit going on an adventure.
Yeah,
exactly.
I was at Drew's place during that time, and then I went over. He's like, "Oh yeah, Breath of the Wild is such an amazing game." I was like, "Oh, show me." And we sat down. Literally, we spent the next hour just him climbing up that one hill. That's all we did, and we had so much fun because we're like, "Oh my god, no, it's getting too cold. Get a chili, get a chili, not enough chili." And then we die like multiple times. So the whole hour of playing like quote unquote playing Breath of the Wild was literally us climbing up a tower, a hill, snowy hill, to get to a dungeon. That's all we did, and we had so much fun.
Yeah.
And
That
then
sounds very familiar.
yeah, and then so when Drew and I were talking about what do we want to cook, Drew was like, "Hey, why don't we do curry?" And I had no opinion. I was like, "All right, okay." So then he started telling me all these spice that I've never heard before. I'm sorry, I'm uncultured, but like turmeric, and then like I don't even remember all some of the names. But he just started telling me a bunch of
Salt,
weird
what
things
is this like?
I've never heard. I'm so sorry. Like maybe it's just the things I cook at home, but I do not touch
Paprika?
those things. Yeah. I was like, what even is that? So and then like we have mentioned already, I had to hand draw everything. So I have literally a page, multiple pages of binder where it looks like those like plant encyclopedia where I have to like draw it out and then like write the name and what do you even harvest? Do you harvest the branch or do you harvest the seed and then you grind them and all stuff? So yeah. Anyways, but it was Drew's idea of making curry, and I think people liked it. Hopefully, you guys saw it in the trailer.
We did. We caught a glimpse of that. That's amazing. We've talked a lot about the gameplay and how this game unfolds, but I do want to go into what brought you guys here today. You mentioned the failures, and I think as indie devs, you have a very unique perspective on that, because a lot of folks, they usually have a good hit that makes them profitable and they can go further and further and keep going. You guys have had some hiccups, and this is, as you say, it's like a do or die attempt at a successful indie game. So let's go over your past, what brought you guys here, and what you've learned. What are you bringing with all that stuff behind you into this game?
Right. I'll talk about my part, and maybe Drew can share his. But for my side, I think what differs Brave Eduardo and what the past failures taught us is I can draw. So honestly, before this game, I didn't think drawing was a big part that I had to do most of the time. And then it was literally I drew this one random picture on a book right after Mirror Blade's failure when we like stopped working on it. And Drew was like, "Hey John, I think you can probably draw." I was like, "Wait, I guess I can." And then we just started drawing, and then like we started putting together Brave
This
Eduardo.
accidental talent.
You
Oh yeah, you
didn't
can
know
draw.
you can draw.
Yeah, no, seriously, like, and this was already like 6 years into it. So why I think this is related to the failure is because Mirror Blade, we actually had a very, very talented artist draw for us, and she did a lot of great work, and we're like, oh my god, she does an amazing job. But at a certain point, when if let's say we don't work together well, or she got much bigger than we did, and then she was like, "Oh, it's going to be hard for me to continue working with you guys and all." So then we realized the whole game is stuck. We can't do anything
Yeah,
more
you
to it
can't mimic
because
that art style.
yeah, she literally studies that, so there's
Right.
not much we can do. She's so talented. I really, really like her work. You guys we're still good friends on Instagram. It's just the big thing is we realize is when the core members that work on the game can't do what to continue a game, we can't do anything, then we're stuck. There's no future for that game. And this is quite the interesting dilemma because the past few failures, let's start from the beginning. In 2011, I believe, we tried to make a game together. This was when I just went to college and Drew was still in high school. So we started really, really early.
Babies.
And yeah, and I hopefully you guys already probably heard this story from a lot of people already. We scope crept like crazy. We were like, oh, this is gonna be the biggest RPG we ever done. And we made this like plan out the whole thing. We had some of our friends who love writing, wrote like 10, 20, 30 pages of story. And then we're like, oh my God, we're gonna do this. And after a whole year, some flaked out, some stopped working, so art was bad. So we're like, all right, everything failed at the end of the first year of 2011. But
Oh my
Drew and I
God.
got so annoyed. We were so pissed that we are like, you know what? We will finish a game in 1 month and we will launch it in 1 month. And then this is when iPhone iTouch was, I think it was like iPhone 4 or iPhone 3. And then so we worked on one game called Dream Arena. So that's our less known game, but it's no longer on the App Store. We made Dream Arena within a month. It was like a Smash Brother fighting game.
Mhm.
We had no clue what the hell we were doing. so the animations like super off. And
Sounds
I'm
like the App
this-
Store to
You
me.
gave yourselves no time to do it.
Yeah, no.
Even better.
and on top of that, I'm gonna blame this on Drew a little bit. He was like, "Yeah, it's gonna have multiplayer too, so you can." I do believe you can do Bluetooth and the Wi-Fi connection, and then you can like fight each other with stuff. And then like the whole gameplay was a bunch of cubes, good-looking cubes, I would add, with different hands. So one button is the right hand, one button is the left hand, and one you can equip them with different things. You can have a magician. I think it's like a magic crystal,
How
and a
did you
sword.
remember all this?
Dude, I
I
had to draw
remember
everything.
after this.
I was forced, and then, oh yeah, and we were so stupid back then. We had to export all the art one by one slowly because we
Yeah.
don't know what action in Photoshop means. Oh yeah, I didn't even know Photoshop until like 3 years ago. So we were literally drawing everything in Flash, exporting it slowly one by one to another. I don't remember what's that P list that we were working on, but
Yeah,
oh my God, it was so much work. But the game was completed. And that's a big deal for us because when we went to school, we had so many like game developer friends who were like, oh yeah, I want to make a game and all this stuff. But at the end of the year, they had nothing. At the end of my 4 years, 3 years, I have to show off a little bit. At the end of my 3 years, they didn't have anything
Wow.
done, but Drew and I already finished. I think a lot of indies, the biggest problem is they don't finish, but we finished something within the month, and it gave us quite a lot of encouragement. So that was our first horrible success into thinking, hey, maybe we can do this, and maybe this will work out. But little did we know that's when all the pain started happening. Like
God.
family problems. I think that was a big deal between both Drew and I. Horrible breakups, and then like
my
relationship
God.
wise, and then like so there was a back and forth for a while, and then I don't want to say too much, but there's this one specific Valentine where Drew and I both hopped online and we're like, I was like, Drew, I had a horrible day. You can't even imagine. And he was like, yeah, me too. I had a horrible day with my family. And we're like, oh no, we bonded. I think it's super cringy, but we call it the Bloody Valentine, where we're like, you know what, that Valentine
Great
was
movie,
horrible.
by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, well, you're very talented, very tasteful. But from then on, Drew and I, we kind of just like, all right, you know what? Things don't seem to work out otherwise. Might as well just focus all our energy on making things. So Drew and I, that's when we really got serious. We started making multiple, some of the small games, template and all that stuff. And eventually we stumbled upon Unity. I think after that, that's when we started working on Unity. Drew was like, oh, look at this physics stuff. You can like move the chair around. And we're like, oh my God, that's so cool. And then so that's when we started working on Never Ending Night, where you play as a guy holding a lantern. That lantern can pick up things and throw things around and all that stuff with physics in it. And that's when we started working on Never Ending Night. And things look great. We went to school, and just saying, once you have a direction in life, I think you tend to draw in a lot of people. So when we were in college, we were like, I would say we were relatively popular. A lot of people came to us, asked, hey, we want to work on this, we want to work on that. And we were like, all over the
Correction,
moon.
John was relatively
Man, you're like
popular.
the it guys. Like
Said,
it's those,
said yes to
those
everyone.
cool game devs. Like you want to be on their team.
Yeah, it was really cool. You know, we had like, and then, but that's also when we encountered the second biggest failure that most indies experience is bloating. You know, like you had so many people that are like,
Of your
"Oh, I wanna
ego,
help."
of the game itself.
I would say every no, I want to say we generally don't have that much of an ego. We're making sure we don't get there, but no, we had too many people working on the game,
Mhm.
and if you really think about it, they don't really do that much, but they want to kind of they do want to jump in. But we realized as Juvenile, we had no experience in how to manage people. We can make games, but we're horrible at managing people. A lot of time they would like sit there saying like doing nothing, and we're like, oh yeah, can you help me do that? And they finish it in half an hour. The next like 3-4 hours they had nothing to do. So that's one of the big thing we realize is like we don't need when we can do so many things, you don't really need that many people. First experience of the first failure, scope creep for the game. Second experience for Never Night is the team expanded too rapidly with no direction. So we had wasted a lot of time doing all that. But luckily, thanks to all them, we did have a successful Kickstarter. That was our very first Kickstarter that was successful for Neverending Night. First, and then we're like, oh wow, we can't believe we finished all that, and I was about to graduate as well. So I told my very conservative Asian first generation family that, hey, instead of law school, I kind of want to do games.
So medicine, not so much game dev. Yes.
Yeah. They're like, excuse me, what? Law school for what? And then so a lot of things were riding on this Never Ending Night, and I would say is the first launch, it did pretty well. The first month we were really happy. We had like 8,000 something like copies out there, and we're like, wow,
Nice.
can't believe people liked it. Yeah, but then within a month it just started dying. You know, like you see the purchase line just shooting straight
Sure.
downwards.
Oh
It's
my
like an
God.
elevator. It goes to one point and just swoop straight downward. and then
That's
on top of that, now
terrifying.
yeah, that's only the beginning of the horribleness. So we're like, oh no, I bet we could have done this better, but I think an expansion will make this better. So I pled to my parents, and then Drew was there too and hearing it. Give me 1 year of time. We're gonna try to launch this expansion within a year. And we're like, all right. And my parents reluctantly accepted it, but
I thought
I'll
you were
go
gonna beg
into
them for money for a minute. Please, we
No.
gotta fund this expansion to make this thing work.
No,
Mortgage
seriously.
the house.
This is what they said. They're like, oh, you have food to eat, so we're already funding you. And then but see, I don't want to get into. It's generally that it goes on to it because while this 1 year of working on the expansion for Never Night, tell me if I'm talking too much because I'm very excited.
This is very
But-
fascinating to me.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm loving every-
I'm looking at
This
you
is
tell
like-
this story, and I'm like, I don't have to talk at all. My voice
We
has
should
been
do a
killing me for 2
documentary about
weeks.
your
Like,
team,
I'm
like,
great.
Just release that on a DVD at some point because the
I-
stories you could tell, and you
I-
painted
I-
a very vivid picture, which is the best part.
Okay, I feel
Like,
less.
I feel like
self-conscious
I got dumped on Valentine's Day. That's what I'm feeling right now.
That is what happened, but yes, I'm glad you can empathize with it. But during that year of making that expansion, that was probably one of the worst years I ever had. I think Drew will have his opinion on what happened to him, but like I love my parents. They're great. They afforded me this opportunity to work on things without starving to death. I have to say that. But like when you wake up in the morning, I woke up during that time. I had to show my parents I'm like working hard. I woke up super early, like 6 a.m. Sit up, start working, and then go down for breakfast. They would start barraging me with attacks of, look at what your friend's doing. Look at what you're doing. You go to college, and this is what you're doing after you go to such a good college. And then that's only breakfast. Then I came back upstairs, start working, come back downstairs for lunch. Same thing again. Just hey John, what are you doing? Why are you wasting time? This is what you're doing. This is what they're doing. Blah blah blah. Start comparing, and that's lunch and then dinner. So I suffered through that a whole year of that. And cherry on top of the cake, when we launched the expansion, we got exactly 1 download the very first day,
Oh,
and
no.
that's all we got. We had no clue how to market a game, so we just launched an expansion without telling anybody. None of the devlog, nothing. We just launched it, got 1 download, and we were just crushed. And then obviously my parents were like super pissed. They're like, look, this is a wrong road. You should have never gone down this path. Bad idea. And then at that point, I was like, you know what? I'm out. So I exiled myself to Texas, thanks to Drew. So I went to live in Texas for a little bit. Yes.
So wait, because
Hmm.
it all sounds like you want to make a game is like the intention, but you're learning all the systems like animation, Flash, and then you mentioned Unity, and you know how to market. Were you learning how to develop like code also on the fly, or was there any experience at all with that portion before going into game dev? Or was Drew like, I can learn how to Unity overnight in a month to make a game?
Well, I mean, I like the joke. I like the joke that Drew like he's born knowing Java. He's born Goo Gaga, hello world, you know. But yeah, go ahead, Drew.
Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah. So I started coding in high school. John didn't tell this part of the story, but we actually met in high school. He was a senior and I was a sophomore, and we were both on the swim team. And we met then. I was like doing CS, and I was like really into like CS. I just like really liked it. Like they offered it in our high school, like one of the few high schools that offered like computer science AP. And I was just like, the moment that I joined, I mean, the summer before, I was already starting to like learn how to code, because I'm like, oh, programmers, they make a lot of money. I should like start learning how to like do this. But not only that, I was actually really, really interested in like computers. I mean, specifically making a computer do what you want to do, I guess. And so when I went to CS, like I was like, I liked it, but I wasn't like I wasn't like amazingly good at it. I just worked really hard, like trying to like understand the concepts. Like there were people next to me, like they were like, there's always geniuses, especially in the school we went to. There was like a bunch of really, really like smart people. And I remember everybody else was like, oh yeah, I got this. Like they were just instantly like learning these things. But for me, I was like, oh, I like spent like literally over the weekend 24 hours on this one homework assignment. Not because like I had to, I could just look up the answer online, but because I really, really wanted to like learn what it was, I guess. And so at the end of the year, we had to do this like final project. Now, John was a senior and I was a sophomore, right? So for me, grades still mattered. For John, grades didn't matter anymore. And so what I did was, so this final project was like a video store, like making like Netflix kind of, but in like Java. And so I went extra on this project. Like I like implemented all these like little sound effects. I ended up adding so many things that it was bad. It looked bad, but but it had like a lot of like coding elements to it, I guess. And then my teacher at the time was like he didn't know how to code like as that much. Like he was okay, but he didn't really like know how to code. You could kind of tell. Like that's why he was teaching it and not like doing it. And so he was like, oh, so he would like go through my code and just like not know like what any of it was doing. So I knew that he didn't know how to code, right? And so John came to me and John was like, yo, like I can't do, like I don't know how to like do any of this. Like he didn't know
Wait,
how to do anything computer science wise.
you're too modest. Sorry, let me just show off for you. Drew was so good at programming, and he added so many graphical interface. That was like extra credit level stuff where you didn't need to do graphical stuff. Drew added so many graphical stuff. He was so popular and so famous that people in my class were like, "Oh, have you heard about this guy called Gupta? He's so good at programming. He's so." And I was like, "Gupta, good. Isn't that the same guy who's on my swim team and who's younger than me?" Yeah, yeah. And then so I went to on the swim team. I went to Drew. Like, hey, are you the guy who's super good at programming? And I had no clue what to do
Are
about.
you the guy?
Yeah, yeah. And then he was like, yeah, yeah. I just did this and that. Not that big of a deal. And then I'll let you continue, Drew.
Can I
Yeah,
say
so
one thing
then he,
before you go on? Drew is
yeah,
like, Steven, why can't you look at me the way that John looks at Drew?
yeah.
He's just like beaming with pride, like that's my guy, like doing his thing.
I'm gonna plead the fifth.
But Drew, yes, continue.
But yeah, so he was like, yeah, I'll do like, can you do my final, can you help me with my final project? Now that meant, can you do my final project for me, pretty much. So he didn't know anything, right? So I was like, okay, like what does this mean? Like what, like where is this in the code? Where is that in the code? He didn't know anything. So long story short, pretty much I ended up doing his whole final project for him in like 4 hours. I had to gut everything because it was like really bad. I was like, this
Yeah.
is like terrible. I have to
Hey,
like
screw you, man.
and then I was like, okay, just say this and this when you're going through the code. And he doesn't know what like, but our teacher doesn't know what he's like doing. So I like put comments in the code and I'm like, just say this and he'll believe you, or like he won't be able to like say anything. And then he did it, and then he was able to like actually get an A in the class.
No, I
Surprisingly.
actually got an A+. I got 103% or something like that.
Yeah,
Because you added all the graphical interface. Yeah,
yeah.
Drew finished my whole final project, which usually people take months to do. He finished it in 4 hours. We went to the library and he's like, let me just do this, that. I'm done. I was like, whoa, holy moly.
103.
Yeah,
That-
he's crazy smart. But and then I do believe then after that it was the swim meet, right? You showed me something at the swim meet.
Yeah.
Whoa,
So
wait,
then after
whoa,
that, like,
easy. Whoa.
Oh, I didn't
I've
mean it
seen a
that
lot
way,
of
but-
videos start that way.
I mean,
We were pretty close as swim members, just so you know. We have good teamwork and team bonding activities, but sorry, go ahead.
jeez.
My mind
oh
is going
man,
to
dude,
like.
Very
Um,
good at the relay.
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, so I guess long story short, after that, John was like, "Oh, you want to make games?" And I was like, "I don't know. I don't think games do that well, but sure." So then I started learning how to do game programming. So I actually didn't know anything about game programming. It's very different than like
Wait,
normal.
games
like,
don't do
CS.
well. But
Sorry, what?
in what universe do games don't do well?
Well, it was just that it was so many games that were on the app store. So I was like, "Oh, how are you gonna like make a game that like
How are you
distinguishes
gonna stand
itself?"
out?
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
all of
yeah.
that. Yeah, but anyway, I wasn't working on anything that was going to do well, quote unquote, anyway.
Mhm,
But I was like, oh,
mhm.
whatever. So then we like, so I like started learning how to like do game programming. I was like reading a bunch of books and stuff because like back then in high school, like that's what you're like, oh yeah, this is cool. I'm like learning all this stuff. But then, so I kind of learned everything through YouTube mainly for game programming specifically. And then
Yes,
went to
YouTube
college
Academy.
for CS as well. But again, all of that is just kind of like fundamental CS. It's not really like game programming. Game programming, like you don't learn how to like do Unity or do like Coco Studio, which you were using at some point. Those types of things you don't really learn. And then so yeah, so I would say like most of the stuff I kind of like learned on the job. But you had like asked, going back all the way to your question where you were like, oh, like were you like learning this on the fly along with like John learning how to like do his stuff. um I kind of was, because like there was a lot of bugs in the game. Like Neverending Night had a lot of bugs, and I think I learned. And then Mirror Blade was like a whole, like there was like a back end and front end, like there was like a whole like server architecture and stuff. So that was like a lot of work. And I think learning all of like being able to go through all of that and like learn how to actually code properly, um, that in itself was, I think, that was like, I think the hardest part. And I think now for this specific video game, I have so much PTSD from the past of like learning all this stuff that now it's kind of like, okay, now I'm like actually want to like make this game like no bugs, like zero bugs. And so to do that, there's like a lot of things we implemented, but that's kind of like boring stuff. But yeah.
I think I like to add is like my brother, smart guy, Alan Wang. He's getting his PhD, incredibly talented person, and I do believe he's on the genius level. He was like, "Hey John, why don't you guys just do this and that to learn, so you guys skip a lot of these experiences or a lot of these learn on the fly and learn to fall and stuff." But I would say, to answer your question and to agree with Drew, is we have this style where we just run into walls. It's the wall's not going to break in the first like 1,000 head ram into the wall, but maybe the 1,100 run into it, it will start breaking. It will start showing some crack, and we think for Brave Eduardo it's showing that little crack where we feel like we're kind of running through the wall now. But I would say in a very stupid and very slow way, that's how we learned. We literally just run into wall thinking that this way might work, and it hasn't worked for the past 8-9 years until probably this game.
Now, is this the first time you guys have taken a game and shown it to an actual publisher that's shown interest in supporting you and funding you, or have your other games that weren't successful was just a solo, will self-publish and put it on a platform? And is this all new for you as well on the publishing side of it? I know you guys are talking to certain publishers now and they've shown interest. So what's that looking like for you
So
guys?
correct me if I'm wrong, Drew, but like when Mirror Blade, when we were making it, there were no interest, and it's very hard to
Mm.
go to convention to show a mobile game.
Hmm.
Some people do it, but we didn't know that was a thing. So we just did it, made it, and then we ran ads on 9gag. Hopefully you guys know about
Oh
9gag.
my God, 9gag.
Yeah, we were kind of we just go we were just
Ads
shooting
on
our shots.
9gag.
Yeah, and then we end
Really?
up doing we were chosen by Apple New Games We Love. We were ranked 17 in England, 23 in Canada. We were top 50 in like 20 something countries.
That's good.
Yeah, we had no clue this would happen, and then Drew was like, "Oh my God, the server backend is like, I'm so worried." So a lot of things were happening during that time, and that's when a lot of investors, not even publishers, investors came to us, and we
Mm.
talked to about like, I would say like 20 something investors, and I can proudly say we have failed all 20 pitches. Every single one did not work out. So yeah, they kind I think they're smart. I think they can see why they're investors. They kind of saw the cracks in how we handled things. It was very unstable. We can make a great game, but to maintain it with 3 people going against hundreds of companies with hundreds of people maintaining an online game, they knew it would be hard for us. We needed to expand massively. We're too efficient in some ways, so yeah. Hopefully that answers your question.
You kind of
Does.
it seems like you kind of um you put in a ton of work to specifically overachieve. You know what I mean? Like your skill level is such that you can overachieve, but and that doesn't necessarily make it achieving within your means. Like does that make any sense at
Yeah.
all? It's almost like I don't know, like we said I guess before recording, like it's failing upward. Like you keep just learning from the mistakes or learning as you go. I mean, that's really people who don't train for something professionally or go through a program that trains them for their specific role in their specific careers. That's like seems to be the way the millennial generation has done things. Is we have these tools that we basically were given the sandbox and the tools at their infancy, and we're told figure it out,
Yeah.
because half the people that are going to teach you don't like your programming teacher. They don't know what they're doing. So
Wait,
we're all learning at the same time. We're all getting in this thing, and we could, so there are people that throw up these tutorials. Like I learned how to edit video through YouTube tutorials. I learned how
nice.
to set up a podcast with YouTube tutorials, streaming, all YouTube tutorials. Like I learned all of this stuff. Even before doing any of this, I learned how to mix audio for live performance via
Wow.
YouTube. Like I did all of that stuff just by watching other people do it, or just like read, not necessarily reading about it because like the ADD doesn't really do well with the reading, but like watching a video and then being like fell asleep in with my eyes open at
What?
from 3 minutes to 11. Let me scroll
Right.
back and then I'll just watch it over and over again. Um,
Right.
but that's how you get to your next challenge. That's how you master the one thing that you flail around doing, and then you kind of get into this. And I think that's specifically why Brave Eduardo is um so eye-opening
Right.
and instantly magnetic to people like Andy and me. And like you said, you had a really large female presence. Like you have, you've kind of found the special sauce. It's flashy, it's cute, it's beautiful, it's haunting, it's
Right.
fast, it's slow. It's like God, it's everything that
You cook, you kill.
yeah, you cook, you kill, you explore the music, the colors, it's like everything you could tell. It's like
It's passion.
it's
It's a lot of
how many
passion.
years? 9, 10, 11 years of mistakes kind of just beautifully smashed together to make this wonderful little stew or curry,
Right.
whatever. Um
But
and I think that's something that a lot of young developers need to understand. Finish a project. Give
yeah,
yourself a month to do something and just fucking do it. It doesn't matter if it's good. It doesn't matter if it sells 8,000 copies. It doesn't matter if your online infrastructure breaks, because guess what? You're going to figure out how to fix it, and then your next game You'll take 2 months and it'll be twice as good, and you'll just keep going and going, and then eventually you get Brave Eduardo.
Oh yeah. Wow, you're putting us at the final end. That's very very
I
honored.
swear to God, if there's a bug in Brave Eduardo, man,
We're coming for
Drew,
you.
you're getting it, Drew. You are getting it.
He's right there. But you know, like I really like the cool. There are two things. One is we're colleagues. Drew, me, and our musician. We did not study what we are doing. I did not study art. I studied business communication. Drew did study program, but it's different than game program. It's very different. Matt studied English. He's Taiwanese. He lived in Taiwan, born in Taiwan. He studied English for college and then realized, hey, I can do music when we made Dream Arena. So now he's like, he came to UCLA for cinematic music production, and he's like so good. But we all learned everything just like you, Steve, on YouTube. That's when we tell our friends, yeah, we had no clue what to do anything. When Drew and I encounter a problem, YouTube, go YouTube. How do you solve this? How do you draw this? How do you program this? How do you make this kind of music? So we're colleagues. And I also like the analogy you meant earlier, and tell me if I made it more clearly, but since we learn a lot of things on YouTube and we're so ferocious in learning, we did go into, let's say, a level 10 battle with a level 100 skill. That's still a fail because it's a very mismatch. We can go into things, like you said, over leveling, overachieving things, but when things don't match up, you're going to fail even if you're level 100. So we're kind of like trying to make sure we're trying to get level 80 at a level 80 arena, so at least they match together. I would say Brave Eduardo, it's not some crazy innovative game-changing mechanic that breaks all games and all game story. It's just we're trying to tell the story well, we're trying to do the combat well, we're trying to do whatever we want to do well. It's nothing too like industry changing. We just want to do it well.
Yeah, and that I just circle back to Hollow Knight for that, because Hollow Knight, it didn't break the Metroidvania mold in any way. It just did what it did exceptionally well, and it had a great world, a great art design, like your game, and very slick combat.
Right.
So you got all that, plus cooking, plus fishing, plus I guess we should all quit our jobs now because I got all this shit to do in your game. But yeah, you don't need to break the mold every time. It's if you know what you're doing and you do it really well, the audience will connect with that.
I do have a question for you guys. When you guys play a game, how big is the world building to you guys? Is that one of the first thing that catches up, or is it something nice to have in the background?
I always go to like the Dark Souls part of me, that I always love the intrigue and the mystery of who are these people. The answers are in the world itself, but they're not laid out bare in front of you. And I think the element of solving these little character puzzles, so to speak, are nice little prizes at the end, like going to a hidden area or finding an item and reading up on it, and this person mentioned this person, like what's the connection there, then putting all of that together. I really like that approach to storytelling, and I like when things aren't spelled out, because I think if you show your hand too much, it takes the air out of the conversation. Like, you want folks to talk about things and theorize, and and that keeps it fresh and in the conversation. So I
like for me, gameplay is always king. It has to feel good, it has to play good, it has to look good, like not look good as in graphical fidelity, but look good as in whatever style the game has to mesh well and just look pleasing. But for me, I like a solid narrative for the character that I'm playing, but I like the world to be explorative and mysterious. One of the best games to do it, I know it's a huge blockbuster AAA game, but I still feel like The Last of Us does that perfectly, because it takes your characters and is telling a very specific, very intimate story with the characters, but then you could explore and find a newspaper article or a magazine cover or a toy or a poster on a wall that tells a story that's 50 layers deep that
Wow.
completely changes your perspective on
Right.
just that one little corridor you're walking in. And I think that is something that the soul, like uh,
Dark Souls?
Elden Ring. That's the one that Elden Ring and Bloodborne are the only two that I really got into much, and I feel like Elden Ring really does that well, where you could speak to these characters, and these characters will lead you down a little narrative corridor, and then it'll drop off, and you just kind of have to figure it out. That's a little
Right.
too abstract for me.
Right.
But the fact that you could tell that that Eduardo is going on a mission, and he has a purpose. And you tell that in different ways. Not only do we get that told to us, but we also have he's got a, like you said earlier, he's got a scythe. Why does he have a scythe? Because of the job that he has. Why does he have the job that he has? Maybe we'll find that out later, maybe we don't, but
Yeah.
the job that he has to do is now your narrative thread. It's that string that's going to get you from point A to point B to point C to,
Right.
It's like
Right.
you're telling two stories. You're telling his story and what his role is in this world that he inhabits. Plus, there's this goddess that's assigning roles and a backstory
Well,
to
what's
that
that
whole.
about?
What's
Right.
that about? So,
right.
so
Yeah,
there'll be
what-
nuggets.
Why
there,
are
I
things
imagine.
ugly?
Yeah.
Why are some of these monsters ugly? Why are some of these areas dark and creepy? Why do they dress the way they do? Like, it's a very why Victorian? Like, even that
Right.
is an intrigue to me. Like,
Mhm.
teddy bears, how far do they go back? Not far.
Yeah.
Like Teddy Roosevelt. That's why they're called teddy
Yeah,
bears.
yeah.
Like, that was like
Uh-huh.
that's
that
not
was
that,
it.
Red.
that was it. Like, that was the answer. So, like, you have this toy that we all have our own stories of.
Right.
I mean, if I knew where my daughter's it's my daughter. She claimed ownership. If I knew where her bear was right now, I would go up and show you. But I have a teddy bear that I still have. It is my teddy bear. I'm
Right.
30. I'm going to be
Wow.
36 years old. I still have my teddy bear. He's beat to shit. But I have him. His name is Teddy. I know.
Huh.
It's amazing.
Very original.
Um,
Yeah.
His
High
feet
creativity on this
are
one.
torn open. He's got cotton flying
no.
out of him, but he's my teddy bear. His face is flat because it got pushed from
Wow.
my bed up against the radiator, so it permanently creased his face like that. But he's
Oh
my
no, poor guy.
yeah, he's my teddy bear. When my wife and I first moved in together, we were laying in bed, and I don't know, I don't remember if it was Christmas shopping or whatever, but
Uh,
I was like, I wonder if this bear exists somewhere. Like, if somebody else had the
mm,
memories that I have with this
Right.
bear, because the bear I've never seen it anywhere else. It wasn't a famous teddy bear. It was
oh,
something that a family friend got for me while before I was born. I was born, and the teddy bear was in my bassinet, right?
right.
Um,
A rare one of a kind
but
collectible.
whatever. So I was wondering, and my wife found somebody on, I think it was Etsy, selling my teddy bear, brand
Oh,
new.
wow.
It still had the
Holy
rattle
shit, dude.
attached to it, the little
Oh my
hairs
God.
sticking out of it, and it was made in 1986, the year I was born, and like the toy company's gone and like all this stuff, and she was like, I want, she wanted to buy the bear. I think it was like $50,
Right.
and the woman was like, I'm just curious, why do you want this bear? Like,
Uh,
I just threw this up there because it was something I found, and like when
Right.
my wife explained it, so now I have my shitty beat up bear, and then I have this brand new bear that I tried to give to my son. He didn't want it, so my daughter like
bullshit,
clinged
Dad.
onto it. No, like he likes his blanket more than he likes his dolls.
Mm.
My
uh,
daughter really liked her blanket, but then she started to really gravitate towards the bear once she realized how much it meant to me.
right.
So she now has this bear, and you're seeing the battle scars that mine has, and now you're seeing hers to start to have the same battle scars.
Oh my.
So when I'm watching Eduardo, I'm like, this Eduardo is my daughter's bear, but I know where Eduardo's going because I know what my bear looks like. I know
Yeah.
the chips in his eyeballs, the lack of color, and like the dye is all worn out. He
Right.
doesn't have his 3 little hairs sticking out of his head anymore.
That's cute.
You know what I
That's
mean?
like
And
it's like
that
your builds in the game. You
that's
know,
what I instantly thought of. I was like, my daughter's bear is Eduardo going on this adventure to protect her from the 36 years that my bear is still protecting me on all my shit.
Of trauma, but but you know, I really wish that the trailer was released. We because we're seeing how the all the talks work out, and then we're gonna release. We have the Steam page ready,
Mhm.
everything's ready. We just haven't launched it. But if we had the trailer, I actually wanted to ask you guys when we first started is like what part of the clips of the trailer that really caught your attention? What kind of like sets off some red flags and all that stuff? Because we put a lot of effort into show just enough in the trailer. And we never talked about this, but when we first made the game, we had the PAX Rising version where it's just all puzzly, but then we actually eventually gravitate towards horror game. So at one point of time, Brave Eduardo was made more of a horror game, Lovecraftian horror, you know,
Yeah.
cosmicism, something beyond our experience. You know Bloodborne, so you
I
understand
still see that
exactly
in this
that
game,
general
by the
idea.
way. Giant fucked up teddy bears walking
But then
around.
but then it was a bad idea. Drew signed us up to so many mind fairs. It's a convention for Minecraft, young kids. And we went into the convention with some horror games. And we're like, oh, bad idea, bad idea. So then we actually
You are my hero.
That's horrible. So we
Yes.
actually put most of the horror into the back end. And for some reason, I actually feel like that's has a bigger impact on it. I think I love how you guys immediately point out that it's dark. Something's wrong, clearly wrong about certain places. And we don't try to make that big of a deal in terms of the general storyline. But that's kind of the reason why we asked you is because we have pages of lore that's not going to be shown directly into your face.
Mhm.
We have pages of history. We have a whole timeline, like
Mm,
thousands of years before Brave Eduardo's story even began. And when we're drawing the art and when we're designing the music, we already drew it based off of the inspiration that we already have.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is based off the things that are in the background. So I really like you guys already caught on certain things that didn't make sense. I love the connection between where you look at a bear, one that's war torn and one is new, and then you're like, I wonder at a certain point, where are these guys, what are they doing? And I think these connections and certain things that we try to put together, hopefully, I don't want to say we're doing it the best, but hopefully we can describe the story well. And because I think fundamentally the story that Drew is actually helming the plot for the main story, I just execute it, but Drew mostly is the one writing it. It's mostly about the two racial divide in the teddy bear. There are bears and there are spids. Spids are these furball vampire things, and then there are
mm,
normal teddy bears. And we tried to tell the story during peacetime. You know, too many RPGs are like some war torn, apocalyptic thing happen. For us, it's not that. It's times are peaceful, but how our agencies around the world, agents around the world, trying to shape it in their way that causes problem. What would
mm.
something supernatural happen? How would that change up a whole already like ordeal society? How would that change that up completely? I'm
Right.
trying to be as vague as possible, but we want to, like I said, we want to try to tell general story tropes, but in ways that are we want to say slightly more interesting. I would say we're somewhat hipster-ish in certain ways. We're like, they all do that. We don't want to do that. So, you know, we try to do certain part of that. And a lot of these things that I love how something sets off in your brain when you guys are watching the trailer, it's like, whoa, that seems a lot darker than it's supposed to be in the game.
It's
And
that
mm,
turn at one point where it's like you think it's a game about cute teddy bears farming berries and fishing,
uh,
and then it's like, oh, he's got a weapon. Oh, he's fucking some dudes up. Oh, he's climbing like Shao the Colossus style boss fights. Like, what
yeah,
is this game? It's that little twist. It's like I was already sold.
right,
I'm even more engaged at this point.
right.
So
Yeah,
it's highly effective.
there have been 3 I think there were 3 games that have come onto our show before um that wound up being like massive successes
Mm,
and that I have called, and I'm calling this one because I truly believe that you have that special sauce. It is so instantly attention grabbing, instantly, um, and I can't wait to get my bear paws on it.
I really appreciate it.
It's a game that I think most people are going to have to pay more attention to.
Yeah,
It's inescapable. I feel like
Thank
once
you.
it starts getting out there, it's like you cannot ignore what this game is trying to do.
I would say don't sign on
Thank
to a
you.
publisher until this trailer is out because you're gonna get
Mm.
more offers after this trailer is out.
Let's not try to influence their decision.
I'm just
when they're like,
saying
they keep
it's
That
having-
might
gonna
be a good
happen.
idea.
Like, excuse me,
if I
Devolver,
had-
go fuck yourself. We're gonna put this trailer out first.
But with that being said, gentlemen, we are running long, but that's okay because
We're good,
I
we're
still
good.
want to get into rapid fire. Because I feel like rapid fire is really going to be a nice, fun.
And we've gotten so
segment for us.
personal already.
We
Steven.
did.
This is like
But let's go even
who
more
hurt you and
personal.
why is my first question.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Rapid fire. We're gonna ask you questions. You just give us your off the cuff answers.
Mm.
So here's my first question. Which one of you is the new teddy bear, and which one of you is the war torn teddy bear?
Mm.
Question. I'm definitely the war torn.
Yeah, I would say I'm the newer one because I'm younger.
Okay.
Fair. God, do some more bear questions. All right,
Do
Winnie
you
the
wanna-
Pooh.
Do you want to do all bear questions?
No, I don't want to do that.
Oh, okay.
Winnie the Pooh or Paddington? Who's the
Man,
better bear?
That's a great question. I love Winnie the Pooh, but I have to say Paddington because British, and also we don't want to get into trouble with some other places. So yeah.
Because British.
Because Disney will kill you.
Got it.
I think Disney's okay. I'm not worried about Disney. I'm worried about something else.
quick side note. I had
Oh,
teddy bears growing up.
oh, right.
I
Yeah.
had a Winnie the Pooh, like a really big plush.
Right.
I was like, in my teens.
Andy, the answer is Teddy
No,
Ruxpin.
too late. I'm already judging you.
around that time.
I'm already
And
judging
that
you.
was when, I don't know if you guys recall this artist, it's rapper Coolio, when he was like
Oh,
big. So, but
right.
we called our Winnie the Pooh Poolio.
Ah,
He had little sunglasses.
Winnie
It
the
was
Poolio.
the
Love
dopest shit
that.
ever.
Rad,
Alright,
rad bear. Super rad.
Love that.
I'm already judging you. Oh,
Gentlemen,
last week, huh?
Hey, that's it. If I do an NPC with that name, it's all yours. Take it.
Maybe we might draw a
Oh,
new
maybe.
bear.
Take it. Some hip.
careful.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Careful.
I heard that.
Here's a question for you. Would you rather invent something brand new
Hmm.
or discover something brand new?
Mm.
I'm discovering. What about you, Drew?
I would invent for sure.
Mm. I like that. Drew, if John was a wrestler, what would his name be?
Little Wang.
Little Wang.
I
Managed
feel-
by Jimmy Wang Yang,
I was
maybe?
gonna say, like, if is that also double as a porn
That's a
star
real
name as
wrestler.
well?
I want to feel offended about it, but I also feel like there's a shred of truth.
But you would like really pack in your tights, like just your little Wang, but you come out like all like pissed off, like with your big dong just stuffed to go down your leg. I think that would be perfect.
I'll grow out a beard just to make that whole thing work out.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. I think
Do
that
it.
works.
Good question though.
John, what is Drew's
Oh yeah.
wrestling name?
Oh, El Gupo Gupo.
Oh, El Gupo.
I like it.
So you're a luchador.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
He doesn't fight normally. Yes. he
I
has
don't
that
hate that.
Latino passion, Yeah. Hopefully I didn't say something I shouldn't have said.
Oh no.
No. I'm just waiting for it's Andy's turn. So just
I asked the question. Oh wait.
I-
You asked mine
I
for
turned-
the other one.
Yeah.
That's not fair. What a fucking cop out.
What do you mean?
Lazy sack of shit. Let's see. John, if Drew was arrested for
Mhm.
committing a crime, what crime did he commit?
Oh wow, this is a hard question. I mean, Drew's a nice guy, but sometimes when I see him looking at
It's always the
someone
nice guys.
yeah, exactly. He's a nice guy, but sometimes when I see him looking at looking at the. Oh, actually, I don't want to go that route. That's too dangerous. He has been eyeing the bank around his area. So just
Oh
saying.
my God,
Oh,
look
no.
out. He's like casing the joint.
Casing it. I just had a
Alright,
good
so
one. I had a good one in my head
bank
that
robbery.
that
I can see that. Yeah.
disappeared.
And the hacker in the heist movies.
You're the guy in the
That-
chair.
yeah, the guy in the chair. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
Just you won't notice until it happens. Yeah.
Okay. Would you rather get rid of, remove from existence all fossil fuel? Like we it's gone. It's not a concept. We don't have it here. Or all of the concept of money.
Oh.
It's a good question.
Mm.
Do you think, Drew? We used to have these talks until we got too old.
I think fossil fuels probably.
Okay. Yeah, I like money.
Yeah, because I kind of like money.
Yeah.
I
I
can't
like
imagine
I
a
like
world-
things.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I feel like because eventually, my point is, I mean, eventually people will start bartering. If you're gonna have goods, some sort of form of money concept will happen eventually.
It'll pop up again at some point. Yeah.
Yeah. But I also agree I would go with fossil fuel as well because I believe we'll find other energy sources as well. So
Yeah, we already have other
Yeah.
energy sources, and if money is
Teddy bears, for
Hmm.
example, are high energy sources.
that's true,
If this game is any indication.
that's true.
John, if you could pick one video game that you could wipe from your memory and play for the first time, experience it all over again, fresh, what game would that be?
Uncharted 2.
It's a good
my
game.
Wow, fast answer,
Yeah,
great
that's a good
game.
game. That's a lot of
Holy
fun.
shit.
It's just so much fun, isn't
Yeah.
it?
The writing is top tier. There's one
Yeah.
part that I always remember when I forgot the two ladies' name, Chloe and Reina or something. I don't remember when they met up, and then with
Elena.
Drake and and Drake was like, oh yeah, this is Chloe, this is that, and then the girl who was obviously slightly jealous was like, yeah, hi, I'm Reina, and I'm last year's top model, and they start laughing. But do you see? It's like super witty.
Yeah.
If only we can capture that into some of the dialogues that we have. That's so smart, right? I wish I can forget everything and just rewatch their whole journey again. But yeah. What about you, Drew?
Good answer.
Thank you.
I would probably say, I don't think I would like it as much anymore. But I would probably say Kingdom Hearts. But I feel like it depends
Interesting.
on the age. Because I feel like
Yeah.
a lot of Kingdom Hearts is like nostalgia. I feel like oh, I played it when I was young, and now it's like, oh, I really liked it. It was like one of my first I think it was my first action RPG game that I played.
Mhm.
And so it was one of those things. It's like I'd never played a game like this before, and it was Disney, and it's like that's so cool. But I don't know if I would like it as much now. But it's hard to tell.
It's like
But
for that,
you-
the biggest allure for that was always it's Final Fantasy plus Disney,
Yeah.
which sounds great, but then Final Fantasy kind of went away. It's like, well,
Yeah.
now it's just Goofy and these other asshole characters I don't care
Yeah.
about for like
Super
80 hours.
corny. It's just
Talking
like
about
the
hearts
dialogue
and
is
shadows and all
terrible.
that sorts of bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Let's say. Okay. Is breakfast cereal a soup? Yes or no?
I'm gonna say no. I can't see that as being soup. In my head, soup is always savory. So milk is not savory
Mm.
unless your milk is a little bit dated, but
Mm.
I don't know.
Is there yogurt in my cereal?
I've never stayed long enough to try it out. What about you, Drew?
No, I personally don't believe in cold soups. Soups have to be warm.
Interesting.
That's a
Even
good way of
cold
putting it.
soups, I would say, are not soups. They're
Yeah,
something else.
I agree.
They're drinks.
Fuck
You're
tabbouleh.
slop.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
God damn it. What? I'm gonna say no, just because it's not properly sandwiched.
Mm,
Not it's like this. It's more
yeah.
of a
If you,
taco.
so if you
than it is
butterfly
a-
the bread, it can't be a sandwich. Is what that's what I'm
yeah,
getting from you.
it's more of a
Interesting.
taco. If you say if it was a taco, I would say it's a taco.
Yeah. Or like the little like butthole slit hot dog buns that they cut on top. You ever see those things?
Yeah.
My
No, but I'm
mom
somewhat
one time
interested.
she tried to tear from this. I was like, Ma, it's open on top. She's like, fuck. What did you give me?
A Rubik's Cube, clearly.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say no because then it would have been called a sandwich and not a hot dog.
There it is.
Mm.
God,
Interesting.
could you imagine? Can I get a hot dog sandwich? A what? The mental ward's that way, dude.
Yeah. Hey, out of the restaurant, out.
Get the butterfly net. We found one.
Would you rather explore the deepest, darkest parts of our ocean, not be harmed, it's completely safe,
Right.
or an uncharted planet? Which would you choose?
Planet.
Ocean for me,
Planet.
planet for him.
Yeah.
Good
I'm way
question.
too interested in space to not want to explore planets.
I played No Man's Sky, and some of the planets are just not that interesting. So I know there's something down in the ocean. I don't know if there's things outside.
Yeah, the ocean I think is the more fascinating for me because the idea of like it's here, it's
Right.
it's among us already,
Right.
And you could see so much of like,
and you know there's shit down there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, did you hear about?
fucking know
There's a underwater volcano that goes off pretty often, but like the headline that I read today was, underwater volcanic eruption spits out 2 different species of shark. So like sharks actually live in the crater of the
Holy
volcano,
shit,
and so
what?
when it like erupts, all the sharks just come like swimming out of it because it's kicking them out, and it's like, what else is happening? I mean, and that's not even that deep. That's like we've been to that crater as human beings. Like I think
Oh
it's
my God.
6 miles or something. I don't know. I forget what it was. No, it was I think it was less than a mile actually. It was like 0.75 mile deep. It's not, it makes little islands that erode, every 50 or so years. But like, what else is down there? Like, is there an Atlantis?
Kraken,
Does
dude, the
Atlantis
Kraken.
exist?
The
Are
Kraken,
aliens?
the
where the-
megalodon, the
Aliens.
Yeah,
fucking,
we know where the
you
megalodon went
the
now.
giant
It's probably
octopus,
inside
they're all
whatever
down
crater
there.
we-
Dude,
yeah.
megalodon, like my son has a megalodon tooth, like a real one. Like they existed not that long ago. Like, what if they
It's a-
still are there?
One of the
Yeah.
craters, man.
What if
Wait
Hollow
for the
Earth
next-
is a thing and Godzilla's out there somewhere?
Oh
you know?
yeah, you're watching Godzilla, aren't you? It's like there's like another dimension in the Earth.
Yeah.
Isn't that what it is?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. That it's
Yeah.
basically the core is so dense that it like rips a
We've gone from
time
some of the
thing.
best writing Uncharted to some of the worst.
Shut
writing.
up, okay?
Modern day
The
Godzilla movies.
legendary Godzilla movies are fun,
We
okay?
cover it all here on the show. Fun is different.
Right.
You can have fun and
It's
be
got
dumb.
good lore. It's fun, it's interesting.
All right, I have a.
You go, then I go, then you go for the last one.
You
the
go,
last
then I
question.
go, then you go, then I go.
Okay.
I'll ask you both the same question, but I want to ask John first. How many pigeons could you carry at one time in both your arms?
One time in both my arms.
You
Probably
got,
one.
you got both your arms. You got pigeons. How
How
many,
many
can you?
pigeons can you scoop up?
How many can I stack up with? Like that's enough pigeons.
Ooh, actually, if I might not put them here, but I can probably grab.
Oh, on your armpits, one under each arm.
No, with my fingers. One pigeon here, second pigeon here, something like that. I'll probably grab it like that. So 4 in total.
That's unfair.
I'll walk around like that, like
They're
swinging
not
down like that.
disease-ridden pigeons. You're just normal, healthy, clean pigeons.
Is there such thing, Andy?
Not
They're
where we
flying
live.
rats.
Not where we are.
Drew,
from.
how many pigeons are you carrying?
And they fly out of my hand.
They are pigeons. So
Yes.
They're
what a
normal
pigeon? A
pigeons.
pigeon? They're not docile. They're
they're not
not
gimped anyway.
livestock.
You haven't gimped them or cut off their wings.
Interesting.
Yeah.
They are just.
Zero.
Yeah, I think that's the appropriate answer.
Rabid pigeons.
All right. We all know that Kellis's milkshakes bring all the boys to the yard. What brings all the boys to your yard?
This is one of the best new questions you've ever asked on the show. Period.
Well, on my side, I know there's 2. One is a Buado. We actually host tons of Buado tournaments. That brings all the boys to the yard.
Ooh,
And also Magic we played tons of
Oh,
Magic the
you
Gathering.
guys, I love it so
Yeah.
much. You are my
That-
kind of nerds. I fucking
Yes.
love it.
Then you're one of the cool nerds.
Yes.
Hang on,
What
I
about
actually
you,
have a
Drew?
sound for that. I don't know if it'll work. Oh, my stream deck shut off. Never mind.
No.
Oh, there it
Fantastic.
goes. Hang on. Oh, you're not going to hear it, but I'm going to play it anyway for everybody else.
Great. You got that, guys?
It's the Homer Simpson nerd.
There it
Oh,
is.
thing.
There it is.
All right, Andy. Oh, wait, no.
Oh, no, we gotta get Drew's answer.
Drew, what
What's
brings
bringing
all the
me to
boys
your
to your
yard?
yard?
It's Han and Magic, I would say. Those are our two things.
Okay.
And Monopoly, but we've stopped
Mm.
playing Monopoly. It's
Boo, Monopoly's boring. Boo.
it sparks too many debates, I would say. Everybody starts hating each other at the end of it. So Catan
Absolutely.
and Magic are way
It's the
more
best way to do it.
subtle.
Are you? Before I ask my last question, Stephen, will you do the last?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Are you guys going to PAX West by any chance, or any other convention in the near future? I'm just curious. I feel like I hate myself for not meeting you at PAX East when we could have like had a drink, because you guys, this is like,
Where are you located?
this is love. This is a love fest. This is like a little square of love. A little, I love it. This
Yeah, we
is
vibe
so
off-
good. The
We vibe off
bonding.
very well. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're in California.
Oh, so yeah, you're not going to be that far from PAX West.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only problem is Drew is like, we're like, oh yeah, we definitely should go. PAX East was so good, but I might have to go to Korea for
Mm.
a potential investor. But it's
Hey,
just
that's way
in the
more
air.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Drew was like, hey John, you should better come back before the PAX West.
Listen, if you're
and I'm
both in
waiting.
California, I got
California.
offices down there, I will definitely fly out one day to see you guys. We'll get food
know,
and
we're
drink
stable.
milkshakes.
If you come around here, we'll show you the area. This is kind of like our turf, so
Sweet.
yeah.
I love
close
it.
by, yeah.
Andy, just out of curiosity, what brings all
Yes.
the boys to your yard?
Oh, there's so many things. So many things. My not little Wang, for one, is I think the most defining quality that I can bring to my yard to offer the said boys. But I think it's my eyes. The baby
Eyeballs.
blue eyes.
You got
is
good
like,
you got good
I
eyeballs.
think, yeah.
Brings
I
all
do.
the boys to the yard.
Thanks, mommy. So last question. I'm going to ask, and we'll have Stephen do the last question.
The
This is
final
a
question.
less silly, more serious, but
Oh,
yeah. What do you want? And you can answer first, Drew, then I'll go to John. What do you want gamers to take away the most when they're playing Brave Eduardo?
Oh damn.
Oh, damn indeed.
I was like, oh man, it's fun to have fun.
I'll wait till the next question. It's gonna kill all the fun.
What do you want them to take away?
Yeah, like I'm playing it for the first time, and like, what do you want me to get out of the experience as a player in the end?
A little bit of I want you to feel immersed. I think that's the number one thing. I want you to feel like thinking about the game after you stop, you put it down, and you're like, oh man, like what happens next?
a lasting impression.
Yeah, the lasting effect. Yeah.
Yeah, I think some of the best games I've played, they're games where I'm like thinking about it, like Final Fantasy, like obviously Final Fantasy 7, but like also there was like one where it was like the other, not Cloud, but the other one. It was like on PSP. I remember that game specifically because it was like the ending of the game, and I was
Crisis
like,
Core.
Crisis Core. Zach,
Crisis
talking
Core,
about.
I got to
God
like
damn that
level-
ending, dude.
Yeah,
You
I
mentioned
got
that
to
now?
level 99. I was literally one-shotting the boss, and the ending scene where you fight those two characters is one-shot death. They couldn't hit me because I was just like, I kept like killing them, quote unquote, but they just were knocking down. And then it got to the point where it was just like, it just came, like the ending came, and then it was just like over. And there was no what do you call it? Like it just quit to that scene.
It doesn't
But I
prepare you for the
remember-
bloodbath that's about to ensue.
Yeah, exactly. I remember like a week or two after, I was still like, man, I can't believe he died. I spent so much time in the game, so much
The
work.
thing is,
and
like,
my character
and with
just
that,
died.
you know what's gonna happen to Zach when that game
Yeah,
You know, going
I
in
did
is
it.
fate.
I did it because I hadn't played
Oh,
Final
you
Fantasy
poor,
7
poor
before.
baby.
That was my first.
You were not ready
one.
for
I had
that.
no idea he was gonna die.
And Zach is way more cooler than Cloud. He's
yeah,
like
100 times
he's
cooler.
like, you know, the older bro. Like
He has
been there, done
he has
that.
personality.
Yes.
yeah, I was
Oh
like,
my
man, why
God.
couldn't Cloud die? Like, Zach.
Remake fixes that.
It would. Then again, remake did fix Zach as well.
Mhm.
I'm curious how they're gonna bring him back. I saw them in the
I
trailer.
don't care.
I'm
He's
like,
back. He's fucking back. That's all that matters.
right. I think for me, I it's probably not as crazy, but I would say some sort of pleasant confusion. I want the story to be
Mhm.
conclusive. I want them to go knowing that despite all the hardship, I feel horrible that you guys don't get to check out the demo because people were really confused. Like, I can't believe this is how you guys start. That's how so many of them told us. I can't believe you guys showed all of this just in the demo beginning 5 minutes. And I was like, yay. And then they're like, this is way darker than I thought. And I want people to know that despite all that hardship and all the bad stuff that happens, there will be a positive ending. I want it to be conclusive. But I want them to have confusion. I want them to go like, why is this place in this area?
Mm.
And then we're very cohesive in how we decorated everything. There's a reason for everything. I want, mine is nothing too crazy. I just want, hopefully Matt Pat to go like, here's a game theory, you know, like for about like the story. Why
Yeah.
is this kingdom all decorated this way? Yeah, that's just what I want.
Okay, it is now time for the final question.
Mm.
It is going to be the hardest question you've ever been asked, period. Ever. And we're going to do a modifier. A slight modifier.
You're gonna modify this shit right now?
I want you both to come to a consensus on your answer.
Oh no, you fuckwad.
Because it is a binary answer. It is a this or that, A or B. Column A, column B kind of thing. But you guys are a team, and it's so obvious you guys aren't just thrown together making a game and then going to go your separate ways. You're a team. You are together. You're going on this road. So I need
shared
you.
heartbreak together.
Yes, you shared heartbreak.
There's a
You're going to
deep
share
connection.
your yacht,
and you will
together.
share this answer together as a
Right.
I
team.
wish.
And so you're going to share this answer. You're going to own it. Okay, this is going to be the official Dream Games answer. It's going to go on your press page, on your
Hold on,
Wikipedia.
let me prepare the text so we can talk off the screen. Go ahead.
The question is, Andy or Steve?
Oh my god. Why would you do this to us?
We
Oh,
do it to
no.
everyone. You are the 268th. No, actually, I think we might be
Oh
over
my
270.
god.
Let me flash the blues a little bit while we're here.
Leave the boys to your yard.
You don't know what brings the boys to my yard.
Oh yeah, we never asked you.
You haven't figured that out yet, but it's the smolder.
Oh, this is tough. I mean,
The
Steve
smolder,
shared
this
his
is-
super cute teddy bear, but I've also talked to Andy last week when you guys all bailed. But so what?
It's true.
That was my bad. I had no voice.
He was
Are
deathly
you feeling
ill.
better?
I am.
Are you-
I am.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna default this to Drew.
Wait, what?
Remember, it's got to be a consensus. You have to both agree.
Yeah, but he's letting him answer on his behalf. So whatever he picks is the answer.
yeah. Whoever we choose, just remember it.
Why did you fuck it up, dude? This is so fucked up. This is just wrong.
I know our guests. That's why.
I know you know, but goddamn, like,
This would have been a simple split vote. And
yeah, that's so it usually goes down in this
I
scenario.
understand that, like-
you know, you don't want that. You want glory. You want
I want glory
You want
or
acknowledgement.
heartbreak. I want a bloody Valentine.
self reassurance.
That's what I want. I want April. I want May 25th to live in infamy for one of us.
Don't forget, he asked you the question.
Oh my god. Okay, so I'm going to have to say.
Dodge answer for me.
You bastard.
Should let him answer it first. Like, and I agree with that. That's what you should have done.
I mean, Steve, you're a wonderful guy, but I have talked to Andy a little bit longer. So we have one meeting and I believe 3-4 emails above.
And we're in Discord. We're Discord friends too.
We are a Discord fan,
So-
and we got to talk, I do believe, over YouTube. So
We
did
did. Because I did.
Yeah.
I left a comment on your video. Yeah.
Yeah, we make a devlog every single week. We're at week
Mhm.
170 something already. I think we're approaching 180. We're very consistent, and I do believe whenever we get a comment on YouTube, we're like, hey, someone commented.
That's how we feel.
Yeah, we feel the same way.
High five, yeah. So Steve, your story with the bear. I love your daughter and your son and your son's your
Someone
refusal
should, 'cause
of
you,
your
you
bear.
don't love him.
No, I saw him came in earlier. Was that the daughter or the
That was
son?
my daughter. Yeah.
Get out. You're ruining everything.
No,
But
she was. She's,
unfortunately, I do believe we
Sweet,
have to
sweet
lean.
child. She's precious.
Yep. We do have to lean towards Andy this time. But hey, maybe if we hang out more, we might
I'll
change our
allow it.
hats. You know?
I'll allow it.
all right. Well,
Listen, we'll bring you back for like when you guys are approaching release, and which, by the way, is there a window we can look forward to, or is that still under wraps, pending publisher approval at this point?
Well, actually, I do believe the publishers are more how do you say, they want us to be ready with the game a lot more than we expected people to want it. They're like, are you guys gonna get it done this year? We're like, interesting. We're hoping to get the Kickstarter out by the end of this year. We have
Love
it
it.
all written, it's all prepared. You already
Cool.
saw the orchestra trailer of it, and since the audience didn't get to hear or see it, I do believe it's pretty awesome.
it's epic.
It's
Yeah.
phenomenal.
So yeah, so that's where we're aiming for, and we're trying to finish and get ready for launch by next year, early next year. Correct me if I'm wrong, Drew, but if we do get some publisher help, Matt, which I am so angry he didn't come on, but Matt is like,
is
oh,
next
John,
time?
I really want to do I don't think it's called hexatet, but like he wanted a 6-string instrument with what's called he had one song that he really wanted to get a small room of pro musicians to do. If we get the publisher to help, we might be able to get that to happen. So yeah.
I have an idea for the next
yeah?
time we get all three of you back on the show.
Mhm.
I want it.
Here-
should.
Here's what I'm thinking.
Uh.
We're gonna ask you again, obviously, at the
Right.
end, Andy
Right.
or Steve. You guys have to chime in fast. One says Andy, other says Steve, and you make that asshole split the tie.
That's a
You,
good
you
idea.
put it on him.
Yeah, good. We should do that. Yeah. We'll remember that. make him take all the blame. Yes.
Yep. It's like we answered. Now it's on you.
Yeah. I look, I'm so happy you guys are giving us all the praise. You know, Drew, amazing. By the way, he programmed tools. So the only main way we can make so many things so fast is because he organized everything. But I also really, really wish our musician was here to, experience the praise. Because
Listen, there's more story to tell. We can't get it all done in what's happened. It's 2 hours now, our longest discussion ever on the show. So you've broken new ground, set records. So clearly there's a lot of story here to tell. I mean, we'll bring him back on when the game is more
Right.
fleshed
And
out.
the rest of the
yeah.
world sees some
Yeah.
more information. You know what I mean?
Correct.
We can't do it justice with even a 2-hour conversation. So
They really can't. This
but
is like a day-long thing. at this
unfortunately,
point.
it is time
all
to
good
get
things,
us
guys.
to get us all good things. All the best things must come
Yeah.
to an end as
They
well. And that's gonna bring us to the end of the show. If you want to follow us on social media, we're at dual_screens. I'm at batchild27. Andy is at Pants Guy. You can join our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/DS podcasts. You could join our Discord by, again, supporting us on Patreon for as little as $1, patreon.com/NDS podcast. And if you guys want to know what that Discord's all about, we actually have developers in there as well, the former guests of the show that come on and just chat with you guys. We're talking all day about all the different gaming news. We talk about mental health, music, film and TV, just you name it. We're a really, really, really tight-knit group. So you could join that at patreon.com/NDS podcast. You could follow us on Twitch, twitch.tv/dual-screen streams, and our YouTube channels, youtube.com/dual-screens-TV. Again, you can find us anywhere where podcasts are found. Gentlemen, where could everybody find yous and Brave Eduardo?
Our website is .dreamgames.com, but we are very, very, very active on Instagram, .dreamdev.
Oh.
That's our handle. We post very, very frequently, and we're always there. So best way to find us or ask for early access of the demo, that might be the best place.
That's going to us first. So don't
Yeah,
don't
definitely.
even front with that shit. That's like the second I want that ready to go like a week prior. 'Cause I want that sweet YouTube video. Like bam, first day, it's done.
There
Play
it is.
it.
We're almost done. Drew, am I missing
We
something?
also have a YouTube channel, Dot Dream Studio on YouTube.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
To get all those juicy
Twitter is
devlogs.
brave_Eduardo. The links will be in the show notes, so just take a look at that. Well, that's gonna do it. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, John. Thank you, Drew. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, viewers. And as always, please be excellent to each other.